welcome to Mindful Mondays with Carrie. Thanks so much for joining me on this series all about reparenting. So to recap, reparenting is the process of taking responsibility for caring for your needs, especially those not met in childhood, and getting to know yourself, really. What are your needs? How can you best get them met? What ways can you receive them and really take them in, right? So being able to identify and care for what you need and want, and making yourself a priority in your life, rather than dismissing yourself, rather than waiting for someone else to take care of you in the way you need. Through this process, you build a trust in yourself, that you are able to show up and do the things, right? So also through this process, really leaving yourself feeling seen, heard, and understood, which I think all of us at the core really want and need, okay? So today, let's see. So we've talked about self-care, self-discipline, and joy. And this week we're talking about emotional regulation, okay, which is a baseline to ride the waves of the highs and lows that are inevitable in life, right? We're going to have the highs, we're going to have the lows. How can we move through them with love and support, okay? So there is a tool that was created a couple decades ago by a teacher, Michele, I can't remember her last name, and it's called RAIN, the acronym RAIN, R-A-I-N, and it's been adapted by a lot of other people since then, one of whom being Tara Brach, who is a psychologist and an author of Radical Acceptance and Radical Compassion, which I highly recommend. And this is one way I've found that's really, it's easy to remember RAIN, right? So in the overwhelm, if we have an emotion that's kind of taking us over or overwhelming us, it can be easy to remember this acronym. So I'm going to present that today as a way to regulate our emotions, and I'm thinking there might be a series in the future to go deeper into this. I know this is a really wide topic, and I recognize that I'm simplifying it into this one technique, okay? And it's a great place to start. It's really a great technique. So the first step is to recognize when an emotion has been triggered or activated, okay? And to be able to check in, to really know our emotions. This is huge. And how often I ask somebody how they're feeling and they're talking about something that has nothing to do with how they're feeling. They're talking about what happened or what they interpret the other person's intent or whatever it might be. Sometimes you could ask 3 times for how are you feeling and you get something other than an emotion. So really starting to recognize how do you experience the emotions, okay? If this is something that's outside of your awareness, like what am I feeling? I don't know the name for it, right? If this seems challenging, first of all, you're not alone, so don't beat yourself up for it. And it's an opportunity to get to know your emotions. I would start with the 6 core emotions, which are anger, fear, disgust, sadness, surprise, and joy. Okay, if you want to take a deeper dive or you feel like you have a good basic knowledge and you want to go deeper, Atlas of the Heart, which is one of Brené Brown's books. I love all of her work. And Atlas of the Heart is where she talks about 87 different emotions. So really getting in there. So yeah, get to know the emotions. Now, emotions are really a physical expression. Okay, we can feel those in our body, right? A tightness in your chest, a lump in your throat, butterflies in your stomach. These are physical expressions in the body, okay? Next week, we'll talk more about the inner critic, which is what our brain does with them. So when you notice you have a strong emotion, I encourage you to name it if you're able to, and really just go from the chin down. If you notice you're thinking about where is it coming from, what is it, why, what's wrong with me, any thought, really challenge yourself. Oh, I'm thinking, chin down. It's felt in your body, okay? What helps me do this is a breath. I'll notice it, I'll name it, and then chin down. And it also helps me to touch myself. I tend to put my hand on my heart and my belly. And that also helps me get into my body, which is where the emotions are. We're not caught up in our head about it. An emotion takes 90 seconds to move through our body. It's when we get stuck up in here that it lingers on and we create a mood out of it, okay? So the first step is to recognize, oh, I'm feeling a strong emotion, okay? Then once we've recognized it, we can allow it. That's when we go chin down. Don't condemn yourself for having the emotion. I still struggle with this at times, where I might go through a shame spiral and, what's wrong with me that I still get caught up in this, or I spend time trying to figure out the emotion, because if I can figure it out, then I can fix it. And emotions are not to be fixed. They are to be felt. And I'll say that again. Emotions are not to be fixed. There's nothing to fix here. We are given all the emotions. They're all gifts, even when they don't feel comfortable. All of them give us great information about what it is we need, okay? So feel what you're feeling. Feel it. Allow it. Don't condemn yourself, and don't get stuck up in your head trying to figure it out. Or better yet, when and if you do, notice it and just bring it back down, chin down, right? Not with a condemning voice, but, oh, there I go again. I'm thinking about it. Let me feel it. Let me feel it. Where do I feel it in my body? And then breathe into that space. If I feel it in my gut, I'm going to put my hand there. You try and see what works for you. And then breathe into it. So breath. When our nervous system is activated, and again, I think I'm going to do more on this later, but it's a fight flight, okay? So our body reacts to this the same way with a psychological threat. So-and-so didn't text me back. What if they're mad at me, right? And whoosh, I have this strong emotion. I call it a whoosh. Sometimes it comes over us. And our body's going to react the same way as if we're being chased by a bear, right? So breath and touch are a great way to let our system know that I'm safe, right? So check, am I safe? Is my life being threatened? Is somebody pointing a gun at me? Is a bear chasing me? If not, if I'm safe, right? Taking a breath and touch. If a bear is chasing me, I'm not going to be breathing deeply and having soothing touch, right? So this is giving information to our system that we're safe, okay? So breathing, I'll give you a couple quick breathing techniques. One is called square breathing. Square, make a square, because the inhale, the pause, the exhale, the pause are all at the same count. So I'll start with 4. Now, if 4 doesn't feel comfortable, go with 3 or go with 5. Find what works for you, okay? I'm going to say that all the time. There's no right or wrong. Find what works for you. And trying to breathe from the belly, the diaphragm. So if it helps you to put a hand there to see if your belly rises and falls. Sometimes when we're anxious, we're shallow breathing, and it's going to come more up here. So you want the belly to go in and out. You don't want the shoulders to go up and down. So we're going to do square breathing, right? So inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Now, I wasn't able to breathe while I was counting out loud. So now I'm just going to do it. I'm going to be counting in my head. And I'm also going to bring touch into it. Touch, one way is going down from your shoulders, down your arms. Not up and down like you're cold, just down, just the down motion. Yeah, so I'll try that while I'm doing this, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and start. Inhale. And that's square breathing, which I've heard a lot about, so I wanted to present square breathing to you. What I prefer, I don't know, I guess it's a rectangle, but it's just inhaling and exhaling twice as long. So I'm gonna count my inhale. That was at a 4, so I'm just gonna take a beat to pause, and then I'm gonna exhale at an 8. And then I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna take an inhale. That was at a 5, so I'm gonna exhale at a 10. That one is the winner for me. So it's usually 5 and 10 for me, and usually I start 3 to 6, 4 to 8. The first ones might be more shallow until I get more depth into that breath. So wherever you're at, try to exhale. If at any point you're running out of breath and you need to breathe, forget about the count and take your breath. Rule of thumb, breathe. So yeah, so going ahead with the allowing. So you're gonna recognize, oh, I'm having a strong emotion, or whoa, I just had a strong emotion, and recognize what was the emotion? Where did I feel it in my body? And then allowing yourself to feel the emotion without condemning yourself. Right? So allowing it to move through your body and using breath and self-touch if that works for you. And again, I like doing this a lot. Some people like fidgeting. That might be something you want to do as well, or simply like rubbing your fingertips together. Now, once the overwhelm has passed, or the whoosh, if you will, the I is for investigate. So observe, what are the thoughts that are going through this? It can also be helpful to ask yourself, how old did I feel? Did I feel like 5? Maybe this reminded me of when I wanted to play with my sister and she didn't want me around because she wanted to play with her friends, and I felt left out, right? So what did she need? What did that little girl need back then, right? Investigate. Maybe it's that I feel left out, okay? And then, is that really what's happening right now? Perhaps it is, perhaps it's not. Perhaps it is, and perhaps I can ask to be included, right? Perhaps there's something there. Perhaps there's another message that I feel like I'm not good enough, right? And I just need some love and compassion, and I can provide that for myself. So really to investigate, what are the thoughts around it? Is there a pattern? What is the need? Is there a need that goes along with it? And really investigate. What's going on? What is it that I want and need right now? And then moving into non-identification or nurture, okay? To provide that compassion and that self-love. What does that little boy, little girl, little human need? And to provide for that child, ourselves, okay? To provide for ourselves what it is we want and need without condemning. We are not defined by our emotions. We all have emotions. They're important to have emotions, okay? And what we're feeling, even if we're getting whooshed by shame, okay? Or disappointment, somebody's let us down, right? To remember that this is temporary. Feelings are temporary. So to talk to yourself as you would a small child, your inner child, or a best friend, right? And the more you're able to do this and show up for yourself, the more you are becoming your best friend if you're not already, okay? Yeah. If you feel emotionally stuck or you need to connect more with being able to identify your emotions, there are certainly resources out there, Feelings Wheels, Nonviolent Communication is a great book, and they have a section in that about universal human needs and feelings and how those go together. So that's a great resource as well. And then I mentioned the Atlas of the Heart, Brené Brown book, where she really maps out 87 human emotions. And really practicing mindfulness, okay? Being in silence to listen within, minimize distractions, okay? Limit your screen time. Make sure you're getting proper nutrition, hydration, rest, spend time in nature, have movement, okay? Really self-care. You can watch the self-care episode. And really that time in silence, that meditation. To be still, to connect with yourself, to understand how you experience different emotions. What are the textures of them? Where do you feel them? And the more you do this, the more you'll be able to notice, perhaps before you get whooshed by them, perhaps when they're just starting. So you can tend to them with loving care, and really take time to be intentional and respond to these, rather than letting the emotion take over and we react. And oftentimes it's in a way that we then have to clean up afterwards. That doesn't necessarily feel so great all the time, right? So really being able to spend time with ourselves, to get to know ourselves and our emotions, this internal landscape, is really a gift that we can all do for ourselves. So today I'm going to share the teachable takeaway for one or more times to really spend time going through the rain, okay? You can also look up meditations, RAIN, and you can find them on YouTube or meditation apps out there to take you through this technique, okay? So it's recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture, or non-identification, okay? When you notice, as soon as you recognize it, as soon as you recognize that you're dealing with a strong emotion, slow down, okay? This is not a time to make a choice. If it's not life or death, or like you need to make a decision right now, don't. Hit the pause button, okay? If you notice, oh my gosh, I'm arguing with my friend, coworker, partner, right? As soon as you recognize that you're having a strong emotion, slow down, hit the pause button, take a time out, say, you know what? I notice I'm really activated right now. I'm gonna take some time to really take care of myself and find out what's happening. Let's circle back tomorrow or in an hour or whatever it might be, depending on the context. But give yourself that space and time to go through this, to recognize your emotion, to allow yourself to feel the emotion. Don't suppress it, okay? It just comes out sideways later and it's not helpful. So allow yourself to feel it, investigate, and nurture. Right? And then you're going to have some more clarity about what you want and need, that you can go back to that conversation and say, you know what? I noticed I was getting defensive and this was what I was aware of and this is what I need. And where are you? How, you know, and create that connection with the person. Now, with just about anything, I think when we try new things, we're not great at it. And even if we remember to do it in the first place. So you might not remember in the midst of emotion, It might be afterwards that you notice, oh yeah, I didn't do that emotional regulation thing. Let me go back and do it now. Okay. So then you can notice, oh, what did I feel? What was the emotion, and how did I feel it in my body, right? And see if there's anything more to really allow yourself to feel. And you can go through the steps even if it's afterwards, okay? Now, if you went the whole week, if it's Sunday night and you just remembered, oh, I didn't do the teachable takeaway, just pick something that was a strong reaction. And you can go through it. The more you go through it, the more you'll feel effective with it as a technique, as a tool that you can put in your toolbox. And the more you're going to remember to do it when you actually need to do it. And sometimes it takes some time before you get there. Okay, so a lot of grace and compassion through this process. Okay, so share in the comments if you were able to do this, what emotion you worked with, what you became aware of, anything you feel comfortable sharing. But please share in the comments any takeaway that you got from this week. And I appreciate you showing up. And I hope you're getting a lot out of these episodes on reparenting. Have a mindful week.